Hello everybody and welcome to the beginning of the new Python for Ethical Hacking course. Now in this course we will be coding our own tools that we covered in the ethical hacking course. Now for some of you that are coming basically first to this course and didn't watch any other ethical hacking courses instead of this one, I'll make sure to make this course beginner friendly and explain everything as we go. We'll start off by actually installing our environment, setting up our Kali Linux machine, which if you are not a beginner and you actually watch some of the ethical hacking courses, you probably already have the Kali Linux machine installed, so you can skip the introductory part and go right into the coding section. Now, what we will be doing in this course is, as it says, we will be coding some of our own tools that we will use for our ethical hacking attacks. Now, if you take, for example, any ethical hacking course, it consists of scanning, enumeration, basically exploitation, backdoors, keyloggers, brute forcers, and any other attacks on the websites, for example. There are lots of other things as well, but all of those things you actually perform with tools that other people created. Right now, what we want to do is actually code some of our own tools and make them useful for our future attacks. So, we will start off by coding some of the port scanners. For example, we will try to create something similar to the nmap. We will start off our attack by scanning the port, scanning the target, checking out for the banners for the versions of software running on the target system on an open port. And then we will proceed to actually exploitation and attacking, brute forcing SSH, for example, brute forcing FTP, and other protocols as well. We will also code the reverse shell, which if you're coming from my previous ethical hacking course for beginners to advanced, you probably already have an idea what the reverse shell is, since I covered it in that course. But right now, what we will do with that reverse shell, we will take and add some different functions and try some different things with it, as well as actually maintaining everything we did in the ethical hacking course. Now, if you didn't watch that, don't worry, I will cover everything from the beginning in that program, and we will also cover everything in great details, as I will try to explain it the best, even for the users who don't know anything about Python. Now the thing is, I will not be actually showing you the how to code in Python. Basically, this is not a Python course, but I will, however, explain everything as we go and code our own tools. Since actually coding or teaching you how to code in Python will take a lot of our time, I will tell you everything that we are going through in great details. So don't worry, even if you don't have any previous experience, you can still attend this course and you can learn a lot from it. Now, as I said, we will start off by actually creating our virtual environment. We will need the Kali Linux machine. We will need the Virtualbox program as well. Now, the Kali Linux machine is where we will actually run our attacks, where we will code our own tools, where we will compile them and run them. It is good to say, or I should say actually, that you can also run all of these attacks on Windows, or not run, you can actually code on Windows if you want to. If you, for example, have Python on Windows, you can actually code all of these tools in Windows environment. Now, if we run into something that can't be run into the Windows environment, I will make sure to actually say that before we start coding. But for you to best follow this course, I would advise you to actually download Kali Linux, or if you have it, you can just run it up. For those of you who don't have it, I will show you in the next sections, or basically in the next videos, how you can download and install your Kali Linux machine. Right after that, we'll go straight into the port scanning section, where we'll teach, where I will teach you how you can actually code your own port scanner. So, that would be about it for this introductory part. I hope you will enjoy this course, I hope you will learn a lot from it, and I hope you will use it for your own purposes as long as they are on the legal side. So that's another thing I should mention. Basically, please don't use this for anything that's not legal, such as scanning targets you do not own, such as attacking targets you do not have permission to attack, or basically anything that doesn't go into the legal side. So that would be about it. Hope I see you in the next lecture, where I will show you how you can download Virtualbox, the newest version, and Kali Linux 2019.8 version, or .a version, pardon me. So, hope you enjoyed this introductory video, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye! Hello everybody, and welcome back. And in this video, I will show you how you can actually download both Virtualbox and Kali Linux, the newest version. But if you have the older version, that one will work as well, I believe, even though you actually want to keep everything updated. And updating your Virtualbox, for example, is always a good thing to do. So we'll download the latest version of both of these programs, and we will try to make our own virtual machine. Now, as you can see right here, I already have both of them downloaded, which this is the installation file that we will use in order to install VirtualBox, which I have installed right here. And this is the Kali Linux 2019.1a version for the 64-bit machine. So, in order for you to actually download these two files, you need to go to these websites right here. So, one of them is kali.org/downloads, and there you will have the newest version of Kali Linux available at the current moment. Now, if, for example, in the time where you are watching this course, there is a different version other than 2019.1a, feel free to download that one as well. And if you have any other problems regarding that version being different than this one, feel free to post questions and I will be happy to answer them. So right now what we want to do is actually download the Kali Linux for our virtual machine. So as you can see right here, we have different types of Kali Linux models right here. We have the 64-bit, the Kali Linux LXDE 64-bit, the Lite version 32-bit, and a bunch of other versions as well. Now, the two versions that you should focus on are the Kali Linux 64-bit and Kali Linux 32-bit. Now, figure out what your main PC is. For example, my Windows 10 machine, which is this machine right here, on which I am on currently, is a 64-bit machine, so I will download the Kali Linux 64-bit version. Now, we can see the size of it is 3.3 gigabytes, and we can download it both from the browser and from the torrent. I will click here to download from the HTTP. This will take some time. That's why I already downloaded it before this video started, so I will not be downloading it now. You make sure to wait until all of these 3.2 gigabytes or 3 gigabytes are finished. And after that, you can continue with the downloading of VirtualBox. So once again, if you have a 32-bit PC, download the 32-bit version. And after you do that, you want to go to the VirtualBox website, which is right here. So let me go one directory back. You just type in VirtualBox in your Google search bar, and you just click on the first link that pops up, which will be Downloads Oracle VM VirtualBox. This will lead you to this page where you can actually pick which one you want to download. As we can see, VirtualBox, the current version is 6.0.4. The platform packages, as we can see, they're separated for Windows hosts, OS X hosts, Linux distributions, and Solaris hosts. Now make sure to pick the version on which your main software, or pardon me, main operating system is running. For me, that is Windows, since I'm using Windows 10. So I'll just click right here on Windows hosts. And as you can see, it will start downloading the VirtualBox 6.0.4 version for me. Now this is a lot smaller file than the Kali Linux 2019 version, so this shouldn't take too much time to finish. But I already have both of these files, so I will actually close this and I will show you how you can install the VirtualBox in this video. So once both of these files are downloaded for you, I can close this right now. We do not need it anymore. What you can do is actually paste them both on the desktop, as it will be easier for you to find them. And right now we are only interested in this file right here. So this is the installation file for our VirtualBox. Now before I actually install it, let me close both of my machines. So just close it like this. This is just a virtual machine, and this is the actual interface of our VirtualBox, which I will show you just in a second, right after I show you how you can install it. So what you want to do is double click the installation file. It will say preparing to install, and basically all you want to do is just click next on every question it asks you. So right now, if I click here next, this part right here is something you won't have. Now I have this because I already have VirtualBox installed, so it asks me modify, repair, or remove installation, since it can't really install it twice. So I will just remove my current VirtualBox. I will just click here remove. As I said, you will not have any of that. You can just proceed to the next step. I will click here yes. It will remove my VirtualBox currently, as we can see right here. It should be removed any second. And right after that finishes, I will show you the true process of installing VirtualBox, which will be basically just clicking next on every step. As we can see, I don't longer have the VirtualBox right here, so I will just click here finish. I will double click this once again. And we can see I will just go next on every step. So create start menu. If this is not checked for you, make sure to check it, so it actually creates a desktop icon for you on your own desktop, so you can actually easily navigate to the VirtualBox. So just click here next, proceed with the installation, yes, and then install. This shouldn't take too long. It will prompt you for the administrator password. Basically, if you allow this application to make changes, you press yes, and this will download in just 10 or 20 seconds or something like that, and you will be good to go. then you can open the VirtualBox and we can proceed to the actual creation of our Kali Linux virtual machine. So it has finished. As we can see, we want to check right here, Start Oracle VM VirtualBox after installation, and click here Finish. Now we wait for the window to open up, this same window you saw previously, and this is something that you won't really have. So all of these are virtual machines that I actually created before. You will not have any of these if you are currently installing the VirtualBox for the first time. If you are not, if you already have Kali Linux machine and VirtualBox installed, you're probably skipping this section anyway. So all you have to do right now is actually click here on the new button right here. Now this new button right here basically presents the new virtual machine. So once you click on this, it will ask you for some of the questions in order to create for you the new virtual machine that you will use. So right here, you can name the machine anything you want. This is basically the name of your machine. I will name it Python Ethical Hacking. Doesn't even matter. You can name it anything you want. What I will do right here is, this is the important part. In the type, you want to select the Linux, since we are using the Linux operating system. And right here, you will have a bunch of these options for the Linux version, and you want to select the Debian 64-bit. Now, if you installed Kali Linux 64-bit version, you select here Debian 64-bit. If you install Kali Linux 32-bit version, you want to select here Debian 32-bit, since Kali Linux is actually based on Debian. That's why we are selecting Debian right here. So once you make sure everything is good, you have the type Linux, the version Debian, and then 64 or 32-bit. You gave it a name, and this is the folder where the machine will be saved. You proceed to the next step. Now, the next step is basically the memory size, which you will give to your virtual machine. Now, this is basically your RAM memory. So for example, as you can see right here, I have 8 gigabytes of RAM memory on this PC, and I want to choose how much RAM memory I want to give to my virtual machine. Now, what this means is basically, if you have 8 gigabytes like me, and you give 2 gigabytes to your virtual machine, every time you start up your virtual machine, the virtual machine will actually occupy 2 gigabytes of your RAM. So for your main machine, there will be left only 6 gigabytes. So make sure to not select too much right here, or it might actually make your PC crash. For example, if I just type here 8 gigabytes, it will not even open the machine, since there will be no memory left for my main PC. So I would advise you to put like 2 gigabytes at least. You can go with 1 as well, I believe, but you don't really want the machine to run that slow. So all you want to do is just select the memory that you are capable of giving to the virtual machine. For example, if you have 4 gigabytes, you can technically give 2 gigabytes for the virtual machine, but it might be running a little bit slower since you only have 2 gigabytes left for your main machine. But it doesn't really matter. For now on, we just want to select the appropriate memory for our virtual machine. Click here Next, and you want to select Create a virtual hard disk now, and click here Create. It will ask you what file type of the hard disk you want. You just click here Next, which is selected as VirtualBox disk image. Dynamically allocated. What this means, basically, dynamically allocated, it will not fill up the space as you use the machine. Now, the fixed size, if you, for example, give 50 gigabytes of your hard disk memory to this virtual machine, it will already make those 50 gigabytes as full. You will not be able to use them or to do anything with them unless you delete the virtual machine itself. The dynamically allocated will, however, not take any memory right now, but if you actually use it, it can take up to 50 gigabytes of memory. So click here Next. I will just leave it on dynamically allocated since it creates it faster. And all it asks right here is the confirmation of the name and the amount of memory you want to give it from your hard disk. Now, if your hard disk is, for example, 1 terabyte, you can give it 30, 20, 40 gigabytes, however you want. Make sure to not go below 20 gigabytes. So I will give this machine around 30 gigabytes of memory. So 32 doesn't even matter. I will click here on Create. And right now, as we can see right here, we have Python Ethical Hacking, which has Debian 64-bit icon right here. You can see the specs of our virtual machine right here. And we will continue to actually installing Kali Linux itself in the next video. So, hope everything went right for you. We will continue with adding our ISO file that we received from the Kali Linux downloading process. And we will use it in order to run our operating system on this virtual machine that we just created. So hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye! Hello everybody, and welcome back to the third video of our introductory part. Right now, what we want to do is install our Kali Linux machine and get it to actually work. Now, this is a process that can take a little bit of time, since the installation process takes around 30 to 40 minutes on average. But this is something that we need to do in order to actually have our hacking environment set up. So what you want to do is start up your VirtualBox. So just click on the double icon right here. If you didn't install VirtualBox, make sure to check out previous video in order to see how to do that. This installation file, you do not need it anymore. You can just delete it and start up your VirtualBox. So right now we can see that right here we have our Python ethical hacking machine. Basically all you have to do right now is actually add this ISO file to the virtual machine storage before actually starting up the machine with this button. So how can we do that? We can do that by selecting the virtual machine and then going to the settings right here. So right here you will see a bunch of different settings for our virtual machine, such as system settings, display, storage, audio, network, serial ports, USB, and so on and so on. So let us actually go through these settings right here in order to see if everything is correct. So this is something we specified in previous video. This right here is not really important to us. On the system part, you can change your RAM memory if you want once again. If you think you gave it too much or too little, you can change it right here. The processor part is something that we didn't see in the previous video. Basically, this part right here allows you to actually give your virtual machine more CPU cores. For example, it will by default leave your machine on the 1 CPU core. But you can, for example, if you have a really good PC with like 6 or 8 cores, you can just give it 4 or 3 or anything, any number you want. But make sure to not give it too much, as it will leave a little for your main PC. So what I will do, I will just leave it on 1. And this right here is basically the percentage of core being used for your virtual machine. So if you just leave it on 1 and drop this to 50%, for example, what this will do, the virtual machine will only use the 50% of your 1 core, which is not enough. Or maybe it even is, I never tried it. What I will do is I will leave 1 core to be used by our virtual machine, and I will give it 100% of power from that core. The acceleration is something that we do not care about, so make sure to check this if this is okay. This one as well. And next thing we want to do is go to the storage. Here we will add our Kali Linux ISO file. So what we want to do is first of all delete the empty attachment right here. So remove it, remove. And under the controller IDE right here, you will have this disk with a plus right here. All you want to do right now is actually just click on this. So click on the disk with a plus. It will ask you, do you want to choose disk or leave empty? We want to choose the disk that we want to use. And what this disk is basically, it is our ISO file that we want to run as an operating system. So if you can't see it right here, which you most likely won't be able to see it, just click here on the add button right here. It will lead you to your Explorer where you can navigate to the desktop or wherever you saved this ISO file and select it. So it is right here. I will click here open and I will double click it right here. As we can see, right now we have the Kali Linux 2019.1a AMD 64-bit version.iso. Once you select all of that, you can click here OK. The network part of settings we will cover later on after the installation, but for now on we are good to go, so just click here OK. Once you finish that, you are good to go and you can actually start up your virtual machine running Kali Linux. So just click here on this green arrow right here, which says start. It will open up this window, which is our virtual machine. As it says right here, VirtualBox version 6.0. And all we want to do right now is actually select either one of these two options. So graphical install or install. Now you can proceed to go with any of these two you want. Basically they are the same, just the graphical install is a little bit prettier. But I'm used to going with the regular installation, so I will just click here enter on the install. Now before we continue, you might have noticed, let me just enlarge this so you can see it better. You might have noticed that we can't actually navigate with our mouse anymore. So in the installation process, you can navigate only with the arrows and with the enter. So click here either graphical install or regular install, and this will start the process of installation of Kali Linux for us. Now during this process, it will ask a bunch of questions, which I will make sure to show you what you need to answer in order to get this to work correctly. So this is something that really is up to you, so you can select any language you want. I will just proceed here with the English. And the select your location is also up to you. Select your own location, or it doesn't even have to be your own location. I will just select your United States, even though I'm not from the United States, I'm from Europe. And this is the configuration of your keyboard. So this can be a little bit tricky if you're used to, for example, QWERTY part and not QWERTZ. So make sure to check that out before continuing. Or, for example, if you have a different type of keyboard configuration, you can select it right here, as there are a bunch of others as well. What I will do is I will go with the American English, and this will finish up with the questions currently. Right now, as we can see right here, it is loading some additional components, so we will let this run. And hopefully our processor installation goes without any errors. Now once again, if you encounter any errors, make sure to post a question and I will be gladly answering you on your problem. So we can see configuring has finished, and right now it asks us configure the network. Please enter the hostname for this system. The hostname is a single word that identifies your system to the network. If you don't know what your hostname should be, consult your network administrator. If you're setting up your own home network, you can make something up here. Now, this is completely up to you what name you will specify right here. I will just leave it as Kali. Basically, this is just something that will pop up in your terminal every time you open it. So you can just type here anything you want. I will just go with Kali. So navigate with your arrows to continue and press here enter. It will ask you to configure the domain name as well, which we do not need at the moment. So right now I will just leave this empty and click continue here as well. So right now it will ask you for your root password. Now here you basically type any password you want. Make sure to remember it, or else you will not be able to log in into your root account on Kali Linux machine. So just type here anything you want. In my case, I will just use test1234. As you can see, if I go onto the show password in clear, oops. Yeah, arrows don't seem to work. Okay, so here it is. You need to press spacebar in order to show password in clear. So test1234, and I will go to the continue, where it will ask me to actually re-enter the password. So re-enter once again, test1234, and go to the continue. Configure the clock. So basically, this is also optional. I mean, you do not really need to select your own time zone. You can just go with anything you want. But if you want to have the correct time and everything correctly, you can just specify the correct settings. So I'll just go here with Eastern. And let's see what will pop up next. I believe right now it might actually start the... Oh, there is the partition disk. I forgot about this part. So all you want to do right now is actually just click here enter on the guided use entire disk. Now the encrypted disk we will not install since it is not really needed for this course. So we will just go with the guide use entire disk. Click here enter. It will select disk to partition, and you will most likely have only this one disk that you selected, which is around 30 gigabytes as you remember when I specified it. So just click enter on that one. And for this part right here, you want to select the all files in one partition. As it says right here, it is recommended for new users. And if you're watching this video, you're most likely a new user of this, so you want to go with this so it doesn't present us any other problems. So just select here all files in one partition, click enter. And right here, click finish partitioning and write changes to the disk. What this will do is it will ask us once again if we are sure we want to write the changes to the disk, as it says right here, if you continue, the changes listed below will be written to the disks. Now don't worry, this is only referring to your hard disk that you specified in the creation of virtual machine, which is only 30 gigabytes if you specified it like me. So this will only write changes to that section of your hard disk. So write changes, yes, and this will actually start the installation itself. So what we will do, we will let this run, and I will see you as soon as a question pops up or anything that we need to answer in order to continue the installation process. So here we are at our first question that popped up, which is the configuration of the package manager. Now it says right here, a network mirror can be used to supplement the software that is included on the CD-ROM. This may also take newer versions of software available. Now what you want to go right here is select here yes, use a network mirror. So click here on yes. And the next part right here is the HTTP proxy information, which we do not really need to specify. So right here we can only just continue without typing in anything right there. Now, what this will do is it will actually configure the apt, as it says right here, for a few moments, and then soon, I believe, it will prompt us with the grub bootloader question, where we actually want to select yes and install the grub bootloader to the master boot record. Now, don't worry, I will read it out loud once the question pops up, and I will also tell you what you need to do. And I believe right after that, that will be the last question that will pop up, and the process of the installation of Kali Linux will finish then, and we can put up into our new Kali Linux machine. So let's just wait for this configuration of the apt to finish, and then we will continue. So let's wait for this. So here it is. I believe right now it will prompt us with the question. Not really sure why the screen is blue, but hopefully it will go away soon and we will get our question prompted. So here it is, install grub bootloader, retrieving file 1 out of 3, and I believe right now it will prompt us with that question I was talking about. And here is the question. So you can read it if you want, or I will read it right now, as it says, it seems that this new installation is the only operating system on this computer. If so, it should be safe to install the grub bootloader to the master boot record of your first hard drive. Now you might be asking, well, this isn't really our first installation operating system. You have your main Windows machine, for example, system, but this is not referring to that. It does not know that it is run as a virtual machine. So basically, for this virtual machine, this is the first operating system, and we want to actually install the grub bootloader to the master boot record. So right here, select here yes and press enter. And all we want to do right here is basically device for the bootloader location, scroll down to the /dev/sda and click here enter as well. Now this will continue, or basically this will finish the installation of grub bootloader, and this will also finish the installation of our Kali Linux machine. This is the last part, as it says right here, finishing the installation. Now what it might actually do is it might prompt us with something like unplug your USB drive after a certain point of this installation, but we really do not want to do anything there, since it is referring to anyone installing this operating system on a main PC as a main operating system, because they would most likely be doing it via USB drive with the burnt disk image on that USB drive. But since we are not doing that at the moment, and since we are not really installing a real main operating system, instead we are installing a virtual machine operating system, we will just proceed with that question if we even get it prompted. So let's wait for this installation part to finish. And here it is, installation is complete, so it is time to boot into your new system. Make sure to remove the installation media, we don't care about this, just click here continue, finishing the installation, and as soon as this finishes we will be able to start our Kali Linux machine. I believe this will not take more than a minute or two, so don't worry. The longest part of our installation has actually been finished already, which was the installation part itself, and this is just some additional packages it needs to install or configure in order for our Kali Linux machine to actually start. So here it is finished. Right now we are rebooting or booting into our Kali Linux machine. Right here you can just let this run by itself, or you can press enter. It will load some of the components and it will start up our Kali Linux machine. Now I need to show you how you can log in, since if this is your first time, which it most likely is, you need to know the username, and you will also need to know the password that you specified in the installation process, so make sure to not forget that. The username for the logging in into the root account of Kali Linux is basically just root, so you just type under the username section root. It will be the same for everyone, and after that it will prompt you for a password where you actually just type the password that you specified in the installation process itself. So right now we will wait for that window to, or basically for that login to get prompted to us, and then we will specify everything we need in order to log in. So here, this is the login screen of the Kali Linux machine. You just type under the username root, and under the password you just type basically the password that you specified in the installation, which in my case it is test1234. Press enter and it will prompt you with your desktop for your Kali Linux machine. Now I will not be explaining in details the environment of Kali Linux itself, since this course is not really aimed towards that. So with a little bit of actually exploring additional videos or additional parts of the internet, you can actually find out a lot of great things about Kali Linux if you're new to it. Of course, I will make sure to explain everything that we use and everything that we need in order to actually make our programs. And also, if you might notice right now, since we are at the login screen, you might notice that our screen isn't really that big. It is only squared to this part right here. We want to make sure that our Kali Linux machine is full screen, so we can get the full quality of this video, and we do not need to really watch a small screen display. So I will show you that in the next video. That is something that you should really do in order to get the best out of this installation. So that would be about it. As we can see right now, we have our Kali Linux machine opened, and I will show you how to make it full screen in the next video, as well as some additional stuff you might need to do. So hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope I see you in the next lecture. Bye!